How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we are recapping day 2 and of course the finals. Incredible format, and it was just such a pleasure to watch. I think a lot of people sort of dismissed it, saying it's like a tier 0 format, not healthy for the game. I'm not sure. This is the best Yu-Gi-Oh we've seen in a very long time, I think, if you ask me. A few things before we dive into round number 10. I think the first one is that we are seeing top cut representation of over 80% for Ishizu tier elements. I think this is officially the definition of a tier 0 format. Even if it's one format, it's happening. And we got Dortmund in a week, which I don't think is going to be very different. And there's a lot of events. 3v3, Vegas, YCS, and yeah, the top 3 decks seem to be Shizu tier with like incredible representation. And then you have Sprite barely making it, and Flandreese, which is always like so resilient because of the floodgate abilities. I think cards that stood out to me during this day 2, Abyss Dweller. I think that's the first card that's going to go. If there is a ban list, and if there is a ban list soon, I think that probably the only card that's going to get hit and like banned is going to be Abyss Dweller. And it's going to be one of those things where we say like, how is this card ever legal? Like, your opponent cannot activate effects in the graveyard, and it's so essential. Like, imagine a card like that for the field or for the hand. Very busted, especially in this format. So I think Dweller is in danger. I think other cards that stood out to be really good were Droplet, which again was in my predictions to be a very good side deck card. Gamma, you see the top 4, top 8, they're all playing this in the side, so this was my call, and apparently it was right. Gamma, Droplet, Orange Light, and those 3 things, why do you play them? Because you can chain them during the drop phase to Abyss Dweller. Commentators still kind of suck. I was mostly on Joshua Schmidt's stream. He's a better commentator than both of them, unfortunately. But shout out to the team who put together this event. I'm looking forward to. I said Dortmund before, but there's another European YCS. Is it Dortmund? Yeah, I think it is Dortmund. So that's gonna be next week, and we're gonna have the European crew over there. Last thing before we jump in, time rules don't actually seem to be an issue more than past formats. The game states are very complicated, but the players at the top tables are able to resolve them fairly well, I think. The finals had like 15 minutes to spare, even though it was given like a 20-minute extension. It still wouldn't have ended in time, and I think time rules are fine. They're not worse than the last format, so I guess that this is all I have before we jump in. So yeah. Round number 1, round number 10, first one of the day, we see Pac in the feature match. And he's playing versus Marcus, who's playing like a Mystic Mine variant of Ishizu tier elements. We see Droplet, Talents, and Demise of the Land, and there's also Mystic Mine in the main deck. I think I'm not going to go over the rounds, like even on the top cut. I want to spend a lot of time talking about the finals because it was amazing. I think this build is just subpar, and you can see the difference in deck building. Like the way Pac actually wiped the floor with this guy very convincingly. Just like you see a mill 8 and you see 3 cards that are not good to mill, or even more. So it's a deck building issue, but Pac takes it 2-0, and yeah, it was a great showing out of Pac. Played it very skillfully. And here's another thing, sort of like, echoing what I said before about bad deck building. Getting a set 2 pass hand in tier limits Ishizu is nearly impossible. So these are both Demise of the Land face down, and yeah, it was a pretty poor showing out of Marcus, but Pac takes it. Then we go to round 11. We have Angel versus Canadiest. Sprite actually versus Ishizu tier elements. I'm not going to spend too much time over this, but it was a pretty straightforward mirror. I think Canadiest took this one and he actually made the top cut. And you can see that he's playing higher draw in the main deck. We've seen this card. We've seen this card a lot. Actually can destroy monsters from your field. also can activate from the graveyard, so it's like Mystic Mine out. We haven't, I think, seen Mystic Mine on the field the whole of day 2 and all the features. So I suppose that's good. Yeah, just like I mentioned for high rate draw, again, Ishizu Tournaments versus Sprite. Sprite didn't really make it that far. Then we have Battle of the Giants. And I just wanted to show, you've probably seen this on Twitter as well, but just look at the board state between Hani and Pak here on top 32. I think that the board state was actually crazy. They were actually able to play it out and get very close to time, but unfortunately Pak throws the game right here. Again, pressure, nervousness. It's on Pak's turn, actually. He's summoning, and Hani activates Bestial Magnamut from the hand, and Pak chains Spooky Dogwood to gain life points. So he will gain that 2500, but if he kept it, because you see he already has Dweller on board, right? He already has Reinhardt and Medora, which is a rank 4. If he keeps the Spooky Dogwood to Hani's turn, he actually wins. So it's 1-1, 5 minutes to go. You play another 2 minutes. Then first summon, you chain Spooky Dogwood, and Pak actually takes this. And Hani goes on to become a YCS champion after this. So thanks to Pak's misplay. Top 16, we have a pretty uneventful Ishizu Tournaments mirror. Both players looking like super tired and exhausted from the day. Do I even have any notes? It's basically Dweller Turbo at this point with all the decks. This is why I said in the beginning that I think this card, I suppose, deserves a hit. I mean, you know. Yeah. A couple of misplays throughout the match, but nothing super eventful. Walter ends up taking this. Then we have Vincent versus Canadiest. Our last Sprite player, still standing, actually goes on to win it and play Jesse Cotton in the top 4 match. But I think the most interesting thing was the finals. The finals was a very, very good showing of Yu-Gi-Oh! In my opinion. Even if you can hate and say that. I mean, I don't personally want to play Tier Limit Ishizu, but that match was very, very back and forth. And without Dweller, it would have been even crazier. Because Jesse got Dwellered 3 times. I think it was like under Dweller for like 2 turns or like 3 turns. They both played really well under the pressure of YCS, time, Chain Link 7. It was pretty intense. And yeah, so we started off with Magnamut on a big mill, chain Orange Light, chain Orange Light from Hani's side. He has Orange Light, he hasn't dropped it yet, but he chains Orange Light with Diviner here and kind of laughs it off. Yeah, Diviner, Orange Light is a very, very powerful card, and Jesse actually wins the die roll here, but goes on to miss almost everything from his mills. He actually doesn't hit a thing. You see 1 Sharon here out of the whole, I think it was mill 15 almost. And yeah, he doesn't actually really goes the distance here. And Hani is able to actually take it from there the next turn and win and go up 1-0. This is interesting. We see again Cypher Gear Gamma going up against the Bestial Magnamut here. So actually it's a pretty strong Gamma. You could rule Kalos here, but he doesn't. And it's a pretty strong one because 1, you get a body on board, 2, you get a search, and it guarantees you the next turn having a Bestial monster. So if you're a tier player and you see that, you're like, he just went -1, and you know, I can guarantee a little bit more that he doesn't have a Bestial monster in his hand. But it was pretty. You can see here, Jesse got milling all 3 tier limits names for the mill 3 for Scream. Already has Dweller established on the board. and this really like absolutely seals it. Hani's shaking his head, picks up his cards. You're not gonna win it from there. And then game 3 comes along. Insane game 3, insane. So Hani started set off with normal summoning Diviner and dropping Guido from the deck. And this basically means that you don't really have a starter and you have to start milling, but Guido mills your opponents as well. So he has to mill here, and they go on to mill. Hani actually hits it a lot better. He hits 2 names and Mudora that can shuffle, and Jesse basically hits, unless he has something in his hand, only like Kelbeck and Agido, and he's not gonna want to mill for Hani because it's just too much of an advantage. Again, crazy board states, crazy board states. Double mill 5, mill 10s all around, really insane. This ended up being a chain link 7, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, still 1-1, and look at the timer. Still a lot of time left in the round, so I think, again, like I said in the beginning, time rolls are pretty solid. So after playing this whole thing out, making the Dweller, activating the Dweller, and then grabbing the Mud Dragon to make a Baron for Hani with the triple tactics. Pops the Kaleido Heart, he's under Dweller, so he can't activate it in the graveyard. No Grave Shufflers. Hani's like extremely nervous, dropping his cards. I mean, I would be too. YCS finals, and it looks like you're gonna win at this point. So again, talents. He was playing 2 talents in his side deck, so it comes in clutch. Definitely comes in clutch. And yeah, so this is the first Dweller. Then it sort of becomes a top deck war, to be honest, with a lot of like normal summons. Jesse has a set Tearlament's Crime on his field that he wasn't able to use. Hani just prevented him from putting any Tearlament monster and it's like having it stick on the board. And what another cool interaction here, just like Hani popping his own Sheeran to start making plays. He's making a hit Kalos, he starts milling. Yeah, and eventually makes a second Dweller. Shuffles back the Dweller with the Graveyard Shufflers. And again, Dweller Baron, he has Sullick face down. And he passes it on to Jesse. Jesse actually top decks a Saronir, which is nuts. And he kind of takes back control of the game, right? He kind of takes back control of the game. They go back and forth a couple turns, and here it actually kind of works well. He enters battle phase. He tries to just like run over his monsters because he has a little bit more card advantage, and Hani doesn't really have anything in his hand. So Sullick, and finally he's able to use the Crime, shuffling back the Sullick, and then kind of leaving Hani without any real protection, and he ends up battling. Saronir is the only one that can actually pass any of them, but he goes on to make, everybody thought he was going to make an elf here. He makes a dark, tries to take his bestial monster, and then he chains the bestial monster. And since he's under Dweller, it basically sums up the game. Hani's like, yeah, pass turn, end phase. He searches for a Droid's Worm, summons it during the end phase while he's still under Dweller, because you have to do that. Otherwise, Hani probably loses the game, or at least doesn't win it that convincingly. Calculating life points here, it is enough. So what he does, he summons the Druid's Worm during the end phase. He, I believe, top decks another Bestial. And what he does is actually super smart. He just tribute summons the Magnamut, popping the Dark and just attacking for game. And Hani, yeah, goes on to take it. Really cool, very cool game 3. I think that was a pretty good showing of, even if it's a tier 0 format, what it can actually do. And I really enjoyed like watching it. Woke up, it was like, I think it was like 3:30 a.m. for me. So I had to watch it like right now when I woke up. And I think overall this event was, the finals was very entertaining. I think the top cut games were a little bit boring, but Hani ends up taking it very convincingly. First solo YCS win. Jesse Cotton plays it very, very well under a lot of pressure. Time sensitive plays, chain link 7 still ends up playing it really, really well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Super excited for next week. We have another YCS in Europe, which is good because then I can cover it a little bit better. Leave a comment below what you thought about the event. What are you thinking about this new Tier 0 format? Leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe if you're new here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.